Welcome back, Truth Seeker. If you missed last night's broadcast with Clyde Lewis of Ground Zero Radio, people who tuned in, a lot of people thought it was the best interview I've ever done. I don't know if that's true, but a lot of people liked it. As a heads up, though, there were a lot of advertisements. I was blown away by how many ads he has on his radio program. It almost felt like there was more ads than show. And unfortunately, because of those ads, there was a point I really wanted to hit on that I got interrupted going into multiple times on the commercial break, and I ended up never covering. And it's something he would have liked because Clyde Lewis is really into the royal family and the ritualism around them. And it would have been just perfect because now Trump is with King Charles today, a week after the reported killing of Charlie Kirk. And you guys, we're going to really put it together and understand what's actually going on, the greater symbolism of the Charlie Kirk ritual. Of course, we've been following social media, the news. The word is out there all over the place. Civil war, right? This means war. They've declared war. This is a civil war. It's us and them. There's a lot of this conversation since the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And keep in mind, all of these things happened on the same day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. You had King Charles reuniting with his son for the first time in 19 months. That was in the headlines before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. King Charles, who's known as Charlie in the UK. You had a new documentary come out for Charlie Sheen, or about Charlie Sheen, and he was on Joe Rogan that day talking about Platoon. If you missed the Joe Rogan, Charlie Sheen podcast, they began by talking about Platoon, maybe Charlie Sheen's most well-known movie set in Vietnam, where the Viet Cong troops were referred to as Charlie. If you've ever seen the movie Platoon, they call the Vietnamese Charlie all throughout the movie, the Charlies. So you got Charlie Sheen and, again, Platoon about Vietnam. Keep in mind, Vietnam was a civil war. For people who don't know, Vietnam was a civil war that Western nations got involved in, first France and then the United States. And with regards to King Charles, the last King Charles in the UK was the one who oversaw the English Civil War, the son of King James. So there's a King Charles Civil War element. There's a Charlie Sheen on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about Platoon to start the podcast, where then they get the news of Charlie Kirk's assassination, and then they move into, oh, wow, that's terrible. And then they start talking about other assassinations, namely JFK. And, of course, after the killing of JFK, that's when Lyndon Johnson took the U.S. into Vietnam. So you got all of these things happening on the same day. This was all going on last Wednesday. Again, King Charles in the news. Again, for the first time in 19 months with his son on 19 date numerology. How old was Charlie Kirk when he started Turning Point USA? He was in his 19th year of life. He founded it just before his 19th birthday. Turning Point USA was founded June 5th, 2012. Charlie Kirk turned 19 October 14th, 2012. And we know 19 is not an arbitrary number. It's a number that has to do with time because the moon is on a 19-year cycle. You might remember Cootie's 19 years after 9/11 and the 19 hijackers, which came 19 years after 1982, the year that Reagan formally declared the war on drugs. The war on drugs, the war on terror, the war on germs all ended up being wars on our personal rights and liberties and the further building of a police and surveillance state, which was in full force in the news on 9/11 while they did the manhunt for Charlie's killer. It's funny, you watch the news a week later, they're talking about how this killer seemed kind of like a dope with his text messages. Like, was he a dope? Because he eluded authorities for 33 hours, right? I mean, it's pretty impressive at this day and age where there's cameras everywhere, there's police everywhere, there's feds everywhere. For 33 hours, huh? No one can find him, and now he's a dope a week later sending sloppy text messages. These things don't really compute, right? But again, getting into his text messages, isn't that a reminder of what happened after 9/11 with the Patriot Act, where now the federal government had access to all of our personal information, text messages, emails, phone calls, library records, etc.? Anyway, again, all of the things in the day of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Sheen on Joe Rogan, his new documentary, King Charles. How about the announcement of the 60th season of Star Trek. Yeah, we're going to hit that too because, of course, Star Trek, probably the most famous characters, Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk, beam me up. William Shatner, born 322. But yeah, we're going to see just beyond just all the Charlie business going on here. Again, just how perfectly connected all of this is. And again, Joe Rogan was doing an interview with Charlie Sheen that day to promote his new documentary on Netflix. They did begin the podcast talking about Platoon. Again, in Platoon, the Vietnamese just were referred to Charlie all throughout the movie. Again, for you younger people who don't know that, yeah, the Vietnamese troops were referred to as Charlie by the Americans and Western nations that participated in the war. Charlie, okay? That's why it was always funny that Charlie Sheen was the star of Platoon. So that's how the podcast began. And then they get the news about what happened to Charlie Kirk, okay? We're going to come read this article here in a moment about what MSNBC has said. MSNBC has declared the conspiracy theories about Charlie Kirk's killing to be flimsy. We're going to cover that here in a minute. We're going to come back to that one. But yeah, today, Donald Trump is with King Charles. And look at this, you guys. Today's the 241st day of the Trump administration, which is the 53rd prime. King Charles equals 53. We've talked about some rituals with King Charles and 53 before. So I just want to talk about the perfection of that. A week after the Charlie Kirk killing, he's with King Charlie. Now, it just kills me that I didn't get to this last night with Clyde Lewis. And if we didn't have 5 bazillion commercials, we certainly would have. But if you were listening to the interview right when I brought up the Charlie Sheen point with Joe Rogan, I was about to jump into King Charles. And God, I didn't even know that they were going to meet today. But look at this, you guys. If you missed last night's podcast, we went into great detail on how important 58 was with the Charlie Kirk killing. Again, just a quick recap. Charlie Kirk's connection to Trump is through his father. His father helped build the 58-story Trump Tower in New York, the same building that Trump announced he was running for president from for the 58th election, you know, the one with the golden escalator, the one that's in The Simpsons and the predictive programming. But 58 is this special number when you learn gematria. Again, Freemasonry equals 58, like Rosicrucian. Remember, King James was a Freemason and a Rosicrucian, the one the Bible's named after, who died unexpectedly at age 58. The year of Trump's first election, you had Vanity died the day of the 58th Grammys. Purple Rain equals 58. Prince died. LeBron won the finals on the real King James's birthday. Then Trump had his convention in Cleveland in the real King James's stadium before he became the first split-term president since Grover Cleveland in the latest election where he got 58% of the Electoral College. Remember, Epstein files equals 58. Epstein died 58 days after Trump's birthday. Epstein died on Tisha B'Av to remember the destruction of Solomon's and Herod's temple, which both equal 58. With regards to Freemasonry, its secrets are in Solomon's temple. The first degree of Freemasonry is the entered apprentice. Trump is the apprentice. Again, the Masons, builders, Charlie Sheen's father, a builder who helped build the 58-story Trump Tower, who died in Utah, a state credited to the church that is the LDS that was founded by the Freemason Joseph Smith. He was a Freemason. Utah equals 58. Death penalty 58. This omnipresent number that we've talked about endlessly. The royal family's Masonic. But look, now Trump is with King Charles a week later, 58 days before his upcoming birthday, which, mind you, is the day leaving 47 days left in the year, like Trump's number 47 and Trump equals 47, and the Masons study the 47th problem of Euclid. Don't forget that Queen of England equals 58 because Trump was synced up with the Queen in numerous rituals, including when he came out to Queen, We Are the Champions in Cleveland, and including when Prince, Mr. Purple Rain, 58, died on the Queen's birthday, April 21st, 2016. But yeah, now Trump with King Charles 58 days before his birthday. Man, this would have been the absolute cherry on the top of last night's episode, and it's too bad it's not part of that broadcast. If you're out there, Clyde, maybe just dial back a little bit on the commercials. Man, I know everybody's got to pay the bills, but I was like, he must be making a fortune off of that. Man, he's got this many advertisers. This guy doesn't even need to do his show. It's just ads. No, but it was a good show. It was a good show. I just wish there was a little more time. And yeah, when I saw this today, I thought, God, I really wanted to talk about King Charles last night and the larger point about the Civil War and all that, because I had that all in my mind, but we just didn't quite get there. So anyway, here we are a day later. We're getting it out there now for the world. But again, he has a big nationally syndicated show. He's been on the air since 1995. He's been on the air for 30 years. And ironically, he started his work in Utah too. It's his home state. But remember, Utah also equals 58. But yeah, I didn't realize this. Clyde gave me this one last night. It is important to look up the meaning of names. Charlie. The name Charlie means free man. Free man. Does it kind of remind you of Freemasonry? Because we know this isn't an accident. And again, Kirk means church. To be a Freemason, you have to believe in a creator. The Freemason logo is the capital G with the instruments and geometry around it. Again, there's the occult belief that God is the master mathematician. He works through geometry. It's where the belief in sacred geometry comes from. The word gematria, this practice of coding numbers into words, means geometry in language, coming from Kabbalah. But yeah, Charlie, free man. And again, Kirk, church. And remember, supposedly the Catholic Church can't be a Freemason, but Pope Francis, which equaled 58, who did the Masonic hidden hand pose all the time. Again, that's the thing about secret societies, right? How do you know that there aren't Catholics who are Freemasons when they're members of secret societies and they're meant to keep the secrets? Anyway, remember, Pope Francis became a Jesuit in 1958 and recently bit the dust by the numbers. Trump got 312 electoral college votes, and then Pope Francis was dead at 88 on the 312th day of Trump's age, when Trump equals 88, like the Republican Party, like Turning Point USA, like Mormon, and then, of course, Charlie Kirk's dead 88 days after Trump's birthday. And where these numbers come together, there's 88 stars in the 88 constellations in the zodiac. The word star equals 58. Charlie Kirk was made into a star on the world stage and was removed by the code. I started to bring up a bit of this at the end of the show last night on Clyde Lewis as we ran out of time. But yes, again, you had this headline the day before. This was in the news before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, about how Prince Harry and King Charles reunited for the first time in 19 months. Again, Charlie Kirk founded Turning Point USA the year he turned 19. The moon's on a 19-year cycle. In the occult, there's a relationship with the moon and Mary. The moon's associated with the feminine. Charlie Kirk was killed 2 days after the Virgin Mary's birthday, or at least so we're told. Again, YouTube took down my video for hate speech because they said questioning mainstream narratives is a form of hate speech. They said if you question a well-documented mainstream story, that's a form of hate speech, that was new to me. But I do thank YouTube for now adding clarification to what hate speech is, because I've been getting deleted for hate speech for over a decade. I'm on my 25th channel, and it was always hate speech, hate speech, hate speech. And I'd say, I don't know what I'm doing that's hate speech, but now that they add the extra wording about how hate speech is questioning a mainstream, well-documented story, I said, oh, no wonder. I've definitely been a hate speaker by this definition. And remember, in George Orwell's 1984, that's what you do, right? Newspeak, you change the meaning of words. Yeah, sure, hate. That means to question the media. You guys, at the rate we're going, the whole society will be saying, how? So you hate the media? It's like you question. You hate the media, then? So you're anyway. If we don't stop what's going on, this is where society's going to get taken to, because they just go along with everything that they're sold. Anyhow, yeah, Charlie Kirk. Just minutes later. And again, to get that date numerology at 19 for that day, you just add every digit in the date number by number. September 10th, 2025 becomes 9 plus 1 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5, which is 19. And not to mention 9-10, September 10th, if you had 9 and 10, it's another 19. There's really 2 19s there. But yeah, so you got that, right? And then again, just Charlie Sheen being on Joe Rogan talking Platoon as the news breaks of Charlie Kirk, which sets the rest of the podcast off on all the conspiracies surrounding the JFK assassination. And remember, like I told you, it's the Jesuits who run the show. Charlie Kirk was killed 63 days from the Superior General's birthday, like JFK in 63. And then there was also this parallel with McKinley because he was killed a few days before the McKinley death anniversary from being assassinated. And McKinley was replaced by Teddy Roosevelt, who was shot in history on the anniversary of Charlie Sheen's birthday, which is also the anniversary of the Superior General, the leader of the Jesuits, being installed. But get a load of this, too. Look how perfect this works out, right? King Charles, 107. Charlie Sheen, 107. Shooting, 107. Charles James Kirk, Charlie Kirk's full name, 107, right? And by the way, you know, I've always said Saturday and Wednesday are the 2 days of the week that have gematria that overlaps with shooting. You continually see shootings in the news on Wednesday and Saturday. It's crazy. And if you guys haven't seen, there's a story today. At least 2 in serious condition after a shooting in central Pennsylvania, and the story is being told by the state's attorney general. It says the victims were taken to Wellspan York Hospital. Again, Wednesday equals 44 like shooting. Saturday equals 107 like shooting. So here we are, right? Wellspan York Hospital. And notice how that's part of the story, right? We never got that detail in the Charlie Kirk story. They never told us what hospital he was taken to. That was just left out of the story. I still don't think that's ever been reported. We know he was loaded into an SUV. We know for hours after, we got reports from other people like Marjorie Taylor Greene saying she was just with him and he's fine. Has Marjorie Taylor Greene ever said where she met up with him and he was fine? Well, what hospital were they at? And she's the one that's associated with conspiracy theories, right? She's one of these characters that they made sure everybody knows their name. Again, most of them don't have a clue in who's in Congress, but they know about the Squad. They know about Marjorie Taylor Greene, a few others. What's the dope down from Texas that's always bumbling like a moron? I can't even think of his name right now. Anyway, something to think about this shooting in Pennsylvania today, where this nation was born. Today is the anniversary of the Constitution being born, September 17th, 1787. And the Attorney General who tells this story, his name is David Winslow Sunday Jr., which equals 267, which is the Philadelphia area code where the Constitution was born. And like I said, all of these stories, day after day, week after week, are drops in a bucket that are really having a powerful impact on this very young generation that's grown up with Sandy Hook and all of these things. Even my generation, I'm sure a lot of people in my generation where we were in high school when Columbine happened, that are just, they're starting to say, enough is enough. And I didn't catch that myself, but I heard a lot of people said that one of Charlie Kirk's last posts on social media was about enough is enough, which of course is the assassination card in the Illuminati card game. And we've been talking about that for a long time, you guys, because enough is enough equals 78. Charlie Kirk's birthday is the day leaving 78 days left in the year. Trump took office at age 78. The Superior General was installed on that day, the day leaving 78 days left in the year. Remember words like Jesuit equals 78. Tesla also equals 78. The reason I bring that up is because Elon Musk was declared the world's richest man for the first time ever, January 7th, 2021, which was the 78th death anniversary of Tesla. And when Tesla died, Donald Trump's uncle, who was working for the FBI, did the audit of Tesla's research and papers. And, the conspiracy theories are that Tesla was a time traveler. And it's interesting because, like Trump's alluded to in Back to the Future. Remember, did you guys see what the New York Post did on the key Back to the Future date in the movie right before the election? They endorsed Trump with the headline Back to the Future. Trump has parallels to Donnie Darko, a time travel movie that's set at the Jesuit high school. Anyway, I'm just making the point about how Tesla's 78 like Jesuit, and there's 78 cards in the tarot deck, and the top cards are Trump cards, and then Trump comes back into office at age 78 like he's Grover Cleveland. Cleveland's also 78. And he unites with Elon Musk politically while he's 78 years old. You know what I mean? We've been talking about all this stuff for a long time. And just as time goes on, the picture becomes more clear if you got eyes to see. But yeah, 78. Just another piece of this pie. Anyway, coming back. again, all of these characters being aligned, right? King Charles, Charlie Sheen, Charles James Kirk, that all equal 107 like shooting. And again, if you're new here, there are 4 base ciphers of the English language. The alphabetic order, A is 1 up to Z is 26. The reverse alphabetic order, Z is 1 back to A is 26, and both orders with numerology applied. Shooting also equals 109. 10th of September can be written 10-9. We'll see what happens October 9th. That will be the kill date for next month. Remember, the kill date's the date that has numerology passes 64, 44, and 28. Kill equals 64, 44, and 28. September 10th was the date. Next month, it'll be October 9th. The month after, it'll be November 8th. The month after, it'll be December 7th. But Wednesday equals 44 and 37. Shooting equals 107 and 109, just like Saturday. All of these numbers were relevant to what happened to Charlie Kirk. On a Wednesday, the name of the college equaled 37, as we covered. The kill date, again, just all of it was there for Charlie Kirk. And we circled this date at the beginning of the year. We circle all the kill dates at the start of the year. We do this every year. And we've just been documenting what's been going on the kill date month after month. You know, when the world was awestruck by Israel attacking Iran, that was on the kill date for that month, June 13th. Which was the anniversary of Netanyahu stepping down before he came back on Albert Pike's birthday, the same Albert Pike who published the letter about 3 world wars to come on the Jesuit order's birthday, August 15th, 1871, where the Third World War would be centered on political Zionism. And, of course, Charlie Kirk, hardliner Zionist, who was, I know, I've seen that he was starting to question things at the end, and that's created the conspiracy theory that Israel did it, which isn't the case, you guys. It's all synced up with the Superior General. Understand. The Jesuits run Israel, you guys. It's undeniable when you have the knowledge, when you have the history, when you know what's actually going on. And that's what separates us from the most of the half-truthers out there who don't have the full picture. They don't have enough knowledge, and they're baited by the obvious. Wait, Charlie Kirk just questioned Israel, and this happens? That's how, again, you guys, the people who actually run the show, the Illuminati, that Italian word, like the Jesuit headquarters is in Rome. Again, Catholic equals 145, 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament. Israel created on 14/5. Little Catholic ritual, paying tribute to the Old Testament. These people know how to keep those looking for answers looking the wrong direction and not seeing the full picture. Anyway, look at this. Today, September 17th, the day that Trump is with King Charles, it's the day leaving 105 days left in the year. And remember, Charlie Kirk equals 105 like Masonry. And as we talked about, right after the Charlie Kirk shooting, there was another shooting at a high school in Evergreen, which used to be the Buffalo school, like McKinley was killed in Buffalo. Trump tried to buy the Buffalo Bills, but couldn't get them, so he ran for president instead. He got his ear nicked, and the firefighter for the Buffalo Fire Department was killed instead. And then he had the Buffalo thing up on the stage. All this, again, McKinley, the 25th president, killed in Buffalo. Here we are in 2025. But this was right after the Charlie Kirk thing where Trump, did you guys see that? By the way, did you guys see that Trump, look it up, it's a fact. At 4:40 Eastern time, that's when Trump said that Kirk was dead at 4:40 Eastern time. Kill 44, execution 44, shooting 44, gunfire 44, mass shooter 44, on and on and on. But yeah, Trump's tweet confirming that Charlie Kirk was dead was at 4:40 Eastern time sharp. And I don't think Trump's doing this. I don't think Trump's ever done a social media post in his life. I think he's just the character. You know, they probably got script writers for him and whatnot, and he gets to play the part. But I don't think, because you look over the years, so many of Trump's rituals on social media are just so perfectly timed. How can he be the president of the United States and be like, hold on, I got to make sure I'm right on at 4:40 to confirm that he was killed in the shooting on the 44 date numerology? And don't forget, Trump is the 44th person to be U.S. president because of Grover Cleveland's split term that messed up the count. Remember, he was declared number 45 on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. That was November 9th, 2016, 11-9. Remember, top cards in the tarot deck are Trump cards. Tarot cards is also 119. This time around, Trump takes office with the 119th Congress. Just jokes on jokes, you guys, from the occult. But, yeah, I think I spaced it. The Evergreen school shooting was on the 105th meridian, right? so we talked about this right after, and we said how his wife went to Regis, the Jesuit school not far away, and how this school was established in 44, 81 years ago. 81 years ago, President Trump. You see how President Trump's 72 and 81? Remember, Jesuit order is 72. President Biden's also 72 and 81. Remember when Biden supposedly got a record 81 million votes? Get him out here in the liberal Pacific Northwest, and there was no Biden bumper stickers, no yard signs. When Obama ran, who got a record at the time, it was just Obama mania everywhere, but they want to tell us that Biden, who there was no hype for, got a record 81 million. Then remember when he passed the torch to Kamala, who has the same birthday as Snoop Dogg, who was running around with the torch days later at the Olympics? But remember how Kamala raised a record 81 million in 24 hours? Remember that one? Again, you guys, jokes on jokes. But yeah, President Biden and President Trump, both Jesuit-educated men. This school where the shooting happened, 81 years old. And there might even be more to that if you look into it. But yeah, just 105 was there. We talked about it this day. Now we're getting the rest of the ritual a week later on the day, leaving 105 days left in the year. Again, the royal family, it's no secret that they're highly Masonic. Again, this isn't some conspiracy theory. It's just documented fact. The royal family is about as Masonic as you can get. Something else that's interesting about the royal family, if you don't know, they believe they have the bloodline to Jesus. And, this Jerusalem thing, remember Trump declared Jerusalem the eternal capital. He was there for Jerusalem Day, and then he went to the Vatican next with Pope Francis, who'd been a Jesuit since 58, and that was right after winning the 58th election. And again, after poor Purple Rain died on the Queen's birthday. But notice biblical's 58 too, right? Just like fraternal's 58, fraternal, Freemasons, fraternal order of police, et cetera, et cetera. You guys, when you wake up to this, pay attention in your town. Doesn't matter if you live in a small town or big town. Pay attention where police stations are and look at how close the Masonic lodge is. A lot of smaller town America, a lot of Masonic lodges are in the same building where the police station is, including this little town I live in Prosser, Washington. The Fraternal Order of Police, Masonic. The authorities, the people giving us the stories every day. How many stories where the officials say so comes from the police, who a lot of them are in secret societies? Don't they make shows about this? Isn't there a show called Bloodline that runs 33 episodes about family, about a powerful family that has real estate in Florida? And, some murder happens, and then they got connections with the police department, and they're bringing in the guy from the police department who does the autopsies, who's the forensics expert to help cover up the crime scene. What, you think this stuff's just Hollywood, or do you think this is really probably what's going on in real life to make sure those who are above the law, like Steven Seagal, stay above the law? You know what I mean? Have you ever seen Bloodline? 33 episodes. It's actually a pretty good show. 33 episodes about family. But yeah, just Trump the apprentice, the first degree of Freemasonry, the entered apprentice, Joseph Smith, the Freemason. Remember, you guys, Charlie Kirk died 88 days after Trump's birthday. Trump, 88. Remember when he came out to Queen, We Are the Champions, 88 days after Elizabeth's birthday? Yeah, go back and look. July 18th, 2016 was the day. Purple's 88, like what royalty wears, like Purple Rain, like Bill and Hillary conceding in purple. Jill Biden walked out of the White House in purple this time around. Purple, Turning Point USA, 88. Also 74. Notice Mormon, 74, 88. A Mormon assassin, 88 days after Trump's birthday. In Utah, 58 land, like Freemasonry, like 58th election, like 58% of the Electoral College this time. Like, again, the election this past year was November 5th, the anniversary of the Jesuits trying to kill King James, a man who eventually died at age 58, who survived an assassination. Yeah. With regards to Trump's ritual today with Charles, it's 95 days after his birthday, or his 96th day of his age, okay? So 95 days after, or 96th day of his age. 95 is a huge number with the Jesuits. Their original mission was to counter the 95 Theses, and that's why they were recognized by the Roman Catholic Church on September 27th, the day leaving 95 days left in the year. So it does matter that it's 95 days after Trump's birthday, but just in light of the Freemason focus here, it's also the 96th day of Trump's age. Freemason 96. Satanism is also 96. And don't forget, Trump runs on the highest degree of the Church of Satan, which is mega. And we know it's not an accident. I've had so many people get mad at me. If you guys don't know, I go out and talk about this stuff publicly. I've had people get mad at me on the streets of America saying, that's not the same thing. It's just make America great again. And I say, well, maybe you should look into April 30th, 2011, the 45th birthday of the Church of Satan, when Trump was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner with Obama, Barack, which means lightning, like Satan comes to earth in a bolt of lightning in the Bible, when Barack told the joke that Trump would become number 45 on the 45th birthday of the Church of Satan, a documented fact that anybody can look up. Does that seem like a coincidence, or does that seem like a mockery of the American people? And remember, Satan in the Bible is the father of lies. We're being lied to. These are rigged elections, and you think they're not rigged. You think they're legitimate. You think Charlie Kirk had something to do with Trump getting reelected. He didn't have a damn thing to do with it. He was another chosen one on the world stage, chosen because his daddy helped build that new Solomon's Temple where Trump announced he was running from for the 58th election. So, again, and by the way, I mean, there's countless videos online of people who've made it up to the top of Freemasonry and say it does get satanic up there. Now, there are other Masons who say that's just conspiracy theory BS. I'm just going to be honest. I don't know, because I'm not a Mason. I haven't been up at the top. I've never been in a lodge in my life. I know that a younger gentleman about 5 years back who was inspired by my work decided he wanted to join a Blue Lodge, and I haven't talked to him for about 5 years. Hey, if you're out there, man, reach back out to me. But he did join Freemasonry. He wanted to learn more about it. He kind of wanted to be like an inside detective and see if he gets some more. But when I talked to him, he'd been in it a few months. Not that you know anything at the Blue Lodge level, but he said so far he was just enjoying it. He said, I got to be honest, I like the people in there. I feel like I have some friends. So again, you guys, you can't be the person who just demonizes everybody because they're in a Blue Lodge. Blue Lodge is the bottom of Freemasonry, where a lot of people go because they just want to have some social buddies. They want to learn a few things. Maybe they do want to become better men. That was the original point of Freemasonry, to make men better. But remember, you can look up in the National Archives, George Washington. There's a letter in the National Archives everybody can look up. George Washington's concerns about the Illuminati infiltrating Freemasonry. And that's why it's crazy that here we are in the information age. People hear words like Illuminati, and they're like, oh, Illuminati. Oh. It's like, well, the first recognized president wrote a letter about his concerns about the Illuminati turning Freemasonry into something sinister. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's like, have you guys seen the movie? What's it called? It's one of the best movies ever, really. God, I can't even think of the title right now. Oh my God. Wag the Dog. Have you seen Wag the Dog? Maybe it's like that. Maybe they made it up and just inserted it in the National Archives. Maybe George Washington never wrote that letter and it was just inserted in there falsely by some crazy conspiracy theorist. Yeah, and again, just with regards to the lightning bolt and Satan, prove me wrong with the lightning bolts up there. You know, Jesus didn't come to earth in a lightning bolt. And again, Jesus didn't preach nationalism. Jesus wasn't political. Jesus didn't demonize people. Jesus was accepting. Now, he did destroy some trees and denounce a woman because she wasn't of the same spirituality. But and there's a weird section in there where he's with a half-naked boy. It's like, why is that in the Bible? Was that thrown in there by the Catholic Church so they could legitimize their behavior? But anyway, my point is Charlie Kirk might have claimed Jesus, but what was Jesus like about him? I'll tell you what the answer is to that. Nothing. And for anyone who's offended by that, I'm sorry. It's just because you haven't read the book. You're just another person that's in the herd. You're doing what you're told. You're going along with the herd. You know, well, everybody else I know claims to be Christian, and they've never read the book either. Yeah. Again, you guys are all just a bunch of cows out to pasture. You don't know anything about anything. You just go along with whatever you think is cool and trending. Jim Hightower used to say even a dead fish can go with the flow. That's who you are, dead fish. But yeah, this one just killed me right here. I wish we would have pulled this up day one when we were looking at this. Star Trek announced the 60th season, Captain Kirk, the day that Charlie Kirk died. The 60th season. Again, remember, from the Trump hoax on July 13th to Charlie Kirk getting loaded in the SUV, that was 60 weeks and 4 days. after the 60th election and all this 60 stuff, including the 60 Minutes debacle and serving French fries on Kamala's 60th birthday and the million other 60 rituals that have taken place. But Charlie Kirk 60, Donald Trump 60. I mean, you know what's funny too is what's his name? J.J. Abrams. He does the Star Trek now, right? J.J. Abrams and the number 47. Let's see what comes up at this day and age where, look at, see right here, because J.J. Abrams is in control of Star Trek now. So check it out, you guys. J.J. Abrams frequently uses the number 47 as an Easter egg in his shows and films as a nod to the long-running tradition started by Star Trek. Wow. This doesn't feel like a ritual to you? MSNBC. You bring on, you guys, if you need me to get out of my wife beater and put on a jacket, I got it. I got nice clothes for people who don't know. I prefer to wear the wife beater because it's hot as hell this time of year. And also, I'm about deprogramming. People trust people because they have suits on and their hair's done all nice. I can do all that too. I can do that. I got it all. I got the lighting here. I can do it all real nice if I want to, but I don't want to. I want to be about deprogramming. It's not about having a suit on or what I'm wearing. It shouldn't matter anything what I look like. What should matter is the information I'm putting out. And is it true? Is it verifiable? Is it factual? Is it based in reality? Is it based in history? You guys, I've been here for every day for over 12 years now, since August of 2013, putting out information like this. And granted, I wasn't this fluent when I started in August 2013, when this all came to me, but very quickly, I had a hold on this and I was putting it together and making sense of it. It wasn't bad even when I first started, but now we're 12 years into it. We got a body of evidence. I got books out there, big books. I got thousands of videos. I got years of being a radio broadcaster on Truth Frequency Radio, doing interviews like last night. I mean, if you listen to last night's interview and then here we are today with King Charles and Trump, 58 days from Charles' birthday, the guy born on the day, leaving 47 days left in the year. I mean, come on. But yeah, J.J. Abrams, Mr. Star Trek now, when Star Trek's the show known for sticking 47 in there. By the way, guys, I saw a lot of people leave comments like, did you see that he had 47 hats all over the place when that happened, Zach? You always say, what is 47? You guys, it's a little bit different, right? Because right now, obviously, he has 47 hats everywhere because Trump is number 47, okay? So it's not like the normal way that they stick 47 everywhere. But the reason they put 47 everywhere is because it's Masonic. The Masons study the 47th problem of Euclid. If you guys are new here, DC equals 47. The cornerstone for Washington, D.C. was laid by George Washington on the date September 18th, 1793, a date with a life lesson number of 47. Again, they lay the cornerstone before they build the foundation. This is Masonic ritual. Foundation equals 47. You think about this nation, which is Masonic, which has a 4th of July birthday, 4-7, excuse me. If you know the Masonic logo, it's the compass and square with the capital G. The Masons call the circle at the top of the compass the pole star, which equals 47. And remember, that relates to this Earth and the tropics that we use to naturally measure the solstices. The Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn are 47 degrees apart. And obviously that's not nature, right? That's the people who chose to map out the Earth the way we know it, that coordinates have been established by, and now GPS and all that. For everybody who thinks everything's nature, nature didn't put the coordinates of this Earth. But don't you think that's curious that the tropics are 47 degrees apart, 23.5 degrees north, 23.5 degrees south? And remember, they're to measure time. Time is this 47 word. Trump has the 47 connection and the 88 connection. And Biff Tannen's character in Back to the Future is based on Trump, where time travel happens at 88 miles per hour. Donnie Darko, which was related to Trump. That movie set in 88. It's also about time travel, a different Donald. Remember, you had the plane crash on Jake Gyllenhaal's 44th birthday on Dion Dawkins' property, a Buffalo Bill, last year at the end of the year. And I said that day, I think plane crashes are going to be a theme in 2025, and they sure have been. You see how plane crashes 97, the 25th prime? Yeah, and again, Donnie Darko set at the Jesuit high school. this 88 number, but we're talking 47 right now. So just come back to 47. The word president is 47. White House is 47. Government's 47. Authorities 47. Republicans 47. Democrat is 47. Lincoln made the Whig Party 47 into the Republican Party, and he's known for giving that speech about 7 years ago. But yeah, this thing about Star Trek, the 60th season being announced the day that Charlie Kirk dies, when it's all synced up with Trump number 47. I mean, really? You want to come and tell me this is all just a coincidence? And don't forget who's been here for years telling you they were going to install Trump in this election way before it happened. And I really doubled down on it the day his ex-wife died 45 years after their marriage, exactly 60 weeks into the first ever Jesuit Ignatian year on July 14th, 2022. And if you go back that day, she was the third story about Trump that day. The first was conservatives against Trump came out with why he wasn't fit for office because he had 60 legal cases open against him. And I said, look at that for the 60th election. Then he came out later that day himself, Trump, and said, I will be running in the election. It wasn't his formal announcement, but he said that day, I will be running in the upcoming election. And then his ex-wife is dead. And again, the first ever Jesuit Ignatian year ran from Cannonball Day, May 20th, 2021, the 500th anniversary of Ignatius Loyola being shot with a cannonball. And it ran until July 31st, 2022, the anniversary of his death. So it ran more than a typical calendar year, but you can see it was 420 days after it began, which is exactly 60 weeks. You guys really think that's an accident that Trump's ex-wife fell down the stairs and died as an able-bodied human being? You don't think that was a ritual sacrifice for his upcoming rig selection? And again, the kinds of things that make information matter to people. The herd needs to see things validated by either the media, or they need to see that somebody's mega famous on YouTube, that they're getting a lot of attention because, oh, then they must be legit. The reason that those are dumb benchmarks, if you're awake, is because, well, first of all, the media is just meant to mind control you. So the stuff they're putting out there is, again, it's not meant to inform you. It's meant to keep you in a state where you're easily controlled by the authorities. And then if you realize that the same thing's going on social media and the same people who control the media really control social media, you start to realize this isn't a way that I can verify. A more intelligent person has to realize, probably who the person who matters online is the person who's being censored, deleted, been accused of hate speech, and lost 25 channels for videos just like I did. Finally, after 3 years, I broke out of algorithm hell and started to reach an audience. And again, if you saw the comment section for that, there was a lot of comments. Tons of people in there that said, Zach, I'm so glad this video showed up in my feed. I haven't been able to find you since 2020. How big do you think this channel would be if I had not been deleted 20-some times? I mean, this channel grew by tens of thousands of subscribers overnight when Prince died, because I said the day of the 58th Grammys when Vanity died that Prince was going to die soon. Again, did the podcast with Jeff Young and Megadeth. He caught my work over that. We did a podcast together in February 2016 telling Prince to look out. No, we've been doing amazing. And the point I'm making is, Charlie Kirk is super famous because he was pushed by the machine. People look at him like he must be important because he, I know his name. He's out there everywhere. He's on TV. He's all over. Hundreds of millions of views on social media. Again, Charlie Kirk didn't help turn a point on anything. He led people back into the Republican Party that's been in power for all of the 21st century that ushered in the police state. Imagine that we reverse roles. Charlie Kirk's the unheard of one. Who gives a shit? All he's doing is promoting a Republican ideology, which is nothing new. Imagine that we've been promoted to Charlie Kirk status, and all the young people of the nation across all the college campuses are looking at this. Again, how do you think the world looks different? And don't forget, we did go to the Yale campus September 12th, 2022. We did about a 7-hour live stream there. You guys should check that out. Of course, YouTube deleted most of our work and other people who were there, but you can still find bits and pieces. You should see the way those Yale students were blown away by this information. They didn't think it was coincidental. They thought it was mind-blowing, and we had some great conversations. You introduce this information to the best young minds in America, they're not going, oh, dumb conspiracy theory. They're going, wow, I feel like I need to know more about this. And again, you just imagine that. Imagine the young minds of the world know about what's going on, the way they're rigging elections, sacrificing people. You think this is it for Trump with his wife? It's not. Go back and look at his ex-brother, or not his ex-brother, but his dead brother who died on the Jesuit order's birthday, August 15th, about 5 years back. On and on and on. You look at what they just did to Charlie Kirk. I've been talking about Trump and 88 rituals Trump's 88th day in office. Go back to what happened the first time around. His 88th day in office, a helicopter crashes in Maryland on his golf course, killing the people there. They've been killing people over Trump for a long time. Mr. Mega, highest degree of the Church of Satan. Doesn't that sound satanic? Sacrificing people, lying to them, deceiving them. Yeah, we're about to get to MSNBC saying the kind of stuff that yours truly is putting out is flimsy. We're going to get to that. As they mock you right in the start of the thing when they got to tell you about how the legit 33-hour manhunt. But yeah, Star Trek. Now, here's the other great thing about Star Trek. You see how it equals 112 and 31? Was September 10th the day leaving 112 days left in the year? Because it was. And was Charlie Kirk 31? So we were told. Killed right before the 31st anniversary of the assault weapons ban, when there's been this major push in the 21st century to overturn a lot of the Second Amendment, and including the right to own what they call assault weapons. Remember, the founders said the point of the Second Amendment was for the American people to have weaponry on tier with the government. And people laugh at that idea now, and I get it. I mean, I don't want people to own nuclear bombs either. But we're not, I mean, we don't have anything anywhere near what the government has. We can't have machine guns. You know what I mean? And everyone at this point does think it's a pipe dream to fight back against the government as technologically sophisticated as they are. But again, people should be figuring out ways to fight back, with or without weapons. And there's ways to fight back without weapons, not participating in rigged selections, not being made afraid by their bullshit agendas that they put through the fourth branch of government, which is the mainstream media that does not observe the First Amendment, where the First Amendment was supposed to be there to protect the media so that they didn't have to fear the government and they could provide accurate information to the American people. But look at where we are now. Now we're in a place where private companies are dominating the sphere of communication, right? So they don't have to abide by the Constitution. Again, I put out what I thought was a very educational and unifying message when Charlie Kirk died. It's taken down for hate speech because I questioned what was in the news. Yeah. That's where we are, you guys, and that's the problem, and people aren't waking up. And meanwhile, you have all these popular YouTubers getting millions of views, putting out really divisive stuff. They're on the left, they're on the right, they want to shit on the other side. Again, that's the problem, and there is so much hate on opposing sides. My work is about getting people out of that groupthink of those sides and stop fighting with each other over the political differences and see the common problem, which is that we have a very corrupt government and media that's manipulating us, lying to us, exploiting us, taxing us without representation, leading us into unnecessary wars. And again, like I said here, if you got here late, again, Charlie Sheen is on Joe Rogan the day Charlie Kirk's killed, and they start the podcast about Platoon, about Vietnam, where the Vietnamese are called Charlie, and Vietnam was a civil war. Then King Charles was with his son when the last King Charles oversaw the English Civil War. And now you have this very heated political divide where people are saying this means war. It's us versus them. It's going to be a civil war. Again, you guys, getting played for fools, falling right into the trap. And don't forget who said the American Civil War was the product of the Jesuits, Abraham Lincoln. And the one assassin that got away, John Surratt, look up John Surratt and the Jesuit plot. They never found him. He was protected by the Catholic Church. So because they couldn't get to him, they executed John Surratt's mother for Lincoln's assassination. And it's crazy how we go through 13 years of slave school, pledging to 13 stripes, and we don't learn about any of this stuff that's all historical fact. What are we learning? We're learning, again, 13 years, right? We don't learn a single thing about the secret societies that were so prominent to be in this nation, how many founders were Masons. We don't learn about the threat of the Jesuits that Jefferson and Adams warned about. We don't learn about what Lincoln said about who was responsible for the Civil War. We don't learn about any of these things related to the secret societies and these power groups. We don't. We learned Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech every year, but we never talk about the speech he gave a year to the day of his assassination. Beyond Vietnam, A Time to Break Silence, given April 4th, 67, a year to the day of him being killed, April 4th, 68. It's about how our corrupt military and its policies puts hatred in the hearts of young men that come back to this country and then bring that hatred into their communities, their families. They come back with drug addiction. And again, all these wars from Vietnam to Afghanistan, we've increased worldwide poppy production. We've created opioid crisis. Again, it's just, yeah. And anytime I bring up MLK, people are like, I hate MLK. Blah, blah, blah. Listen, I don't care what you think about MLK. Listen to his speech a year to the day of his assassination. That's what I always bring up. You can't tell me that speech is one of the greatest speeches. It's not an accident he was killed a year to the day later. And it is suspicious that he gave it on 4-4, being from Georgia, the fourth state that equals 44, like military, like kill, like shooting. And I just talked about Trump sending the military to Memphis in tribute to the MLK assassination. Martin Luther King Jr., he deployed the National Guard to Los Angeles for the first time in 33 years, not since the Rodney King riots that came out of the 3-3 beating of Rodney King. He deployed him on June 7th when King equals 67. Now he's doing this thing in Memphis. Here, about King Charles and Trump being with him today, I want to remind about this too. If you look it up, if you remember the Kings Roads killing at University of Idaho and the Virginia Cavaliers football player killings, they both happened on November 13th, okay? But they didn't make the news, either killing at either college campus on both ends of the country, until November 14th, which was King Charles's 74th birthday. So I said that day, I said, are you kidding me? On King Charles' 74th birthday, killings on Kings Road at University of Idaho's in Moscow, Idaho. It's spelled the same way as Moscow, like Russia. And King Charles is the first English monarch that has Russian ancestry. So think about that too. But Kings Road and then Cavaliers, when the last King Charles, those who fought for him in the English Civil War were Cavaliers. King Charles, Charlie Sheen, Vietnam, Civil Wars. Anyway, look at it. Moscow, the way they pronounce it in University of Idaho, 74, right? 74th birthday. Here, remember, today's the 241st day of Trump's age, 53rd prime. Or not his age, but the administration, like I said. Today's the 241st day of Trump being in office, the 53rd prime. He's with King Charles today. King Charles, Virginia, Moscow, Idaho, 53, right? Coming down. What? Oh, this is the wrong post. All right, I just wrote it all down here. I've talked about this so many times, you guys. And the most simple cipher, killing is 74, right? So is stabbing, the 74th day of the year. Remember the stabbing of Caesar? The Ides of March, which happened in 44 BC, like kills 44. They did Bob Lee dirty, the Square and CashApp guy, in an Ides of March ritual the other year for the Fed Now system. I covered that. We covered that live on the streets of San Francisco. We had people mind-blowing on the streets of San Francisco. R.I.P. Bob Lee. But yeah, killing in 74, holidays 74, just like Independence Day. 3 of the nation's first 5 presidents died on July 4th. Jefferson and Adams died 7/4/1826 together. And then 1826 days later, Monroe died on July 4th. And they were all outspoken against the Catholic Church. Jefferson and Adams outspoken about the Jesuits. Remember, Holy Roman Empire is 74. It's also 88. Remember, it has all the same ciphers as Turning Point USA. Are we turning further back to the Roman way? You know what I mean? You gonna start crucifying people on crosses after Charlie Kirk? Will Tyler Robinson be crucified on a cross? And anyway, just look at it, you guys. Turning Point USA, Holy Roman Empire. We're not turning in the right direction. Yeah, Moscow, where it happens, also the same thing. Just like Mormon. Okay. So, yeah, this thing with King Charles, I just wanted to remind a little bit about it. And I will bring up one other point, because if you've ever heard the theory that Jack the Ripper, there's a lot here, but if you've ever heard there's a book out there that the research said from this guy who did a lot of work on this. He said Jack the Ripper was no doubt a member of the royal family. Again, Jack the Ripper was obviously very well educated, super advanced for his time. People who are usually very well educated and advanced usually come from people who have ample resources, people who are on the cutting edge. Again, if you're born wealthy, you have a major advantage in this world. More likely that your family can afford to help you become a doctor, this type of thing. And Jack the Ripper had medical knowledge that most people didn't. But remember the Kings Road killings at University of Idaho, they said the girls, their last calls, they called a guy named Jack. numerous times. Jack. And take a look at this right here. Take a look at this. There's what I wanted. The Killing, Holiday, English, Energy, Gematria, Masonic, Occult, London, all these 74s, right? Big time killing number. The Virginia Cavaliers players were killed in Chesapeake, another 74. Murders 83 like Jack. The British band The Police did the song Murder by Numbers in 1983. Stuart Copeland of that band. His daddy was in the CIA. Remember, Sting sung that song, Every Breath You Take, Every Step You Take. I'll be watching you for this year's nation's birthday for the U.S. That was the big song all over. CNN kept showing it over and over that Sting sung Every Step You Take, Every Breath You Take. I'll be watching you. And remember what happened early at the start of this year when Trump took office. He had all the billionaires behind him, including Mr. Oracle, now the richest man in the world, who just a few months earlier had said that AI is now capable of keeping surveillance over a massive police state. Larry Ellison envisions a utopia-like police state where everybody's under the watchful eye of cameras at all time, and the AI can track everyone's behavior, and instantly people can be nabbed for doing anything out of order. For all you guys who think it sounds great, what if out of order and you're in the cage means you question the news? Hate speech detected. This guy said on social media that, you know what I mean? I mean, seriously, I could be in prison in the future. By the way, isn't this kind of stuff already going on in Europe? People who question the 6 million thing, they're being put in prison in parts of Europe. And is that right? For anyone who thinks that's right, are you insane? Where is questioning anything worthy of being put in a cage? And not to mention, Charlie Sheen was the kind of guy who said things literally like, we need more prisons. We need more people in prison. Oh, yeah. Can you imagine the minute? Doesn't that seem just like what Jesus would think, too? What we need is more authoritarian rules to put more people in cages. That's what we need. Charlie Kirk, Jesus. Man, that's why I had to go away from religion, because it's like when I went away from religion as a child, I didn't think like, oh, I'm going to become a bad person. I just thought, these people that are in this religion aren't good people. They're liars. They're frauds. They pretend to be things they're not. I'm above this. That's what I thought as a 12-year-old, and I never looked back. And for anyone who doesn't like me, I've been here busting my ass every day for now over 12 years straight, putting out nothing but truth that has saved people's lives and could have changed this country. We could have had a real turning point. And things would be a lot better. There wouldn't be crazy inflation because not everybody would have went along with the lies of 2020, where Trump ended up signing off on $12 trillion in printing of money, which was no doubt going to cause a lot of inflation. I called that out before we got a single stimulus check. Anyway, come back to the Jack the Ripper thing. From his last killing, November 9th, 1888, to the killings at Kings Road. Do you see how it was 134 years and 4 days later? Remember, 4 is associated with death in the occult. In Mandarin, Chinese, and in Japanese, you pronounce 4 the same way as death. 134 years later, King Charles III, 134. Make America Great Again, 134. Again, this 134 number is just connected to destruction all over. JFK's speech to the newspaper publishers about secrecy to his death, in the Dealey Plaza, named after the newspaper guy, the 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason. It was 134 weeks. I can't remember if it was right on the nose. It might have been 134 weeks and a day or two later. Maybe it was 4 days. It was something like that. But this 134 number, again, it's deadly. It's deadly. So... And then there's been some other killing stuff. I forget what it was. The lady who rolled into the river, and it was a lot like history. That was also while Charles was 74, and it had 74s all over it. But again, this is my point about people in high places and sacrifices being made for them, and young people killed at the University of Virginia, on college campuses, and in the University of Idaho, killing of young people for these old... in this case, monarch types. Donald Trump, who, like most U.S. presidents, has bloodlines to royalty. The royal family thinking that they're holier than thou and that they have the official bloodline going back to Jesus. I hope I made it. I hope I made it all clear enough in this video, because I got to go get Sweet Girl here in a minute. But before I do, let's read MSNBC, because fair and balanced. I presented my case. Let's hear MSNBC The first Charlie Kirk conspiracy theories were flimsy. I don't know. I thought I had I don't like to say that my work's conspiracy theory. Maybe like in the same way that they use theory in science, you could say, because my work's pretty well proven. Not to mention we had the date circled for a story just like Charlie Kirk at the beginning of the year, the kill date. And it's been just landing month after month. Again, I discovered the kill date pattern when Dick Gregory died, which is a long time ago now. So we've been covering it every month since then. But yeah, flimsy 33. Let's read this reporting here. How Charlie Kirk's death became the ultimate conspiracy theory. I like the post at 11/11. I love how World War I ended on 11/11 at the 11th hour after it began with the assassination of Franz Ferdinand when on his license plate was 11/11/18, like the war ended on 11/11/1918. Sure, that was just a coincidence too. Hasn't been all number rituals all this time as they've led us into deadly world wars and everything else we're experiencing now. Within hours of the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, edited videos began to spread online. Some focused on the moment Kirk was shot, zooming in on the obviously fatal wound to make the strange claim that he hadn't been killed at all, that the video was a fake generated by computer, or that a squeeze of his right arm was proof he had popped a capsule to make it appear as if blood was pouring from his neck. In videos that each racked up hundreds of thousands of views, one Illinois creator pointed to photos of the Turning Point USA founder making an OK sign with his hands. These symbols, they said, prove Kirk had not only had faked his death, but that it also actually revealed his alignment with a demonic cabal that secretly controlled the world. You know, if you guys know the name Russian Vids, you guys know this guy. He's been around online on YouTube for years, and he's made a lot of videos saying that I'm Mossad and I'm a Freemason and I'm a Satanist and blah, blah. He's put out all these conspiracy theories about me, right? Now, I noticed that he has a lot of videos talking about things just like this, and none of his videos have been taken down. All of his videos are still up. Just like Brian of formerly High Impact Flicks, he's got videos like this, and they're all still up. I didn't do any of this, and I got taken down for hate speech. So, why are you guys getting the privilege? And I'm not saying you guys are the cabal, but I mean, all these years of slandering me, the guy who can't keep a channel up, 25th channel, always getting taken down like this. You guys did all those things, and your videos are still up. Anyway. Kirk is, of course, senselessly and indisputably dead. Indisputably dead. How come there was no reporting on what hospital? Was he not taken to a hospital? Was he taken to Marjorie Taylor Greene, wherever she was hanging out? Because she said she saw him and he was okay. He was still alive. That was Marjorie Taylor Greene. He was taken in an SUV to where? Where'd she get that information? Can we get from Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because she was syndicated in the news that saying Charlie Kirk was still alive. Before Trump came out at 4:40 and said he was dead. The legend Charlie is dead. That fact alone, I love the media. God, Kirk is, of course, senselessly and indisputably dead. That fact alone was enough to shatter reality, even for people outside the gravitational pull of internet conspiracy. Those words they used right there were to dig at all the flat earthers. These people are trolling. And for the record, I never liked the flat earth theory. Google made that super popular in the summer of 2015. And the next thing you knew, the mainstream media was writing, people online who question things like 9/11 and Sandy Hook and think the earth is flat. Some people are saying they need to be censored. I was like, look how this is so predictable that they're going to equate flat earth with things that legitimately need to be questioned. At 31, Kirk was arguably the most popular and influential figure in right-wing politics outside of Trump. By the way, since I brought up SH, remember, Charlie Kirk equals 192, and assault weapons equals 192. This number was huge with the Uvalde shooting and the rituals that happened afterwards. But remember, from Turning Point USA being created in 2012 to SH happening was 192 days. And there was a push to ban assault weapons by Dianne Feinstein right after. And now that push is, again, getting a big call. You know, we need a turning point on guns. Ironically, they might use Charlie Kirk, the conservative who supported Trump, who said, I like take the guns first and due process second. Anyway, I need to hurry up here. At 31... remember, college equals 31, activist 31, hunter 31, Star Trek 31. The last person he was speaking to was Hunter. At 31, Kirk was arguably the most popular, influential figure in right-wing politics outside of Trump, for whom he acted as a strategist, the guy who brought young people into the mega movement and helped win Arizona. Oh, what a story. It's not true. And by the way, Arizona, I used to go to Arizona State University, man. That state couldn't have been redder than red. When I was there in 2004, 95% of the campus they voted for George W. Bush. And of course, I didn't, because I didn't vote for anybody. I saw John Kerry and George W. Bush on Meet the Press with Tim Russert talking about how they were both in Skull and Bones, and I knew better. I said, oh, look at this. Both from the same little tiny, powerful secret society. What a show. I won't participate in this bullshit. That's what I said as a, how old was I back then? I would have been 21. To the religious right, he was a hero. To many on the left, an avatar of racism, transphobia, and misogyny. And to tens of thousands of young people, especially men who packed his rallies and the millions more who watched his clips online, Kirk was someone who could talk to anyone, win any argument, and offered a vision. I never really saw him win any arguments other than we saw him with people who were just too dumb and nervous. No, I disagree with that. Win any argument, offered a vision of life filled with purpose and power. He connected Maha and Mega and sealed Trump's selection of J.D. Vance for vice president. Remember, that was in Milwaukee where Teddy Roosevelt was shot as J.D. Vance became the youngest VP nominee since Roosevelt, who replaced McKinley. Kirk was, as his podcast intro declared, the voice of a generation, and many believed a future president. And don't kid yourself in this world. He might still be the future president. He might just come back looking a little bit different, little face off. Is that okay, or is that hate speech? You know? Was that hate speech? Can we not have an opinion? Because again, what hospital was he taken to? Why was he taken away in an SUV? Why can he not question it? That to me, that makes me think that, oh, they don't want anybody thinking. And then he was gone, not just gone, but stolen, executed on a live stream in an act so violent, so graphic that only other events that comes close to it as trauma in memory was President John F. Kennedy's assassination. Can we talk about how this was 63 days from the Superior General's birthday, the 44th composite number, going with all the other 44s? Like JFK was the 44th term president, or number 35 killed by 35 in the ongoing number games. Viewed by most in grainy footage that doesn't approach the detailed horror of Kirk's recorded murder, seen almost instantly by millions. According to the most current information from law enforcement, the shooting appears to be the work of a single suspect, the 22-year-old arrested on the 11th, like it was JFK on 22/11, Tyler Robinson, like Tyler guards the Masonic Lodge, a bright electrician, I like it, he's lighting things up like the Illuminati, a bright electrician in training who was taken into custody 33 hours. Can you believe this is an article of mocking conspiracy? Come on, man. Nice numerology, 22, the master builder number, 33, the master teacher number. Custody 33 hours after the shooting and was formally charged in Utah on Tuesday. Utah Governor Spencer Cox. If you're out there, the gentleman who used to write the really long comments in the funny form of English and how everything was a dick joke, where are you, sir? Because no doubt this one is. Spencer Cox said Robinson was motivated by and deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology, citing statements from family members and messages sent to friends. Yeah, but he was from the very conservative. How many liberals are in the Mormon faith? Let's get real. Yet almost immediately after Kirk was shot, a wave of conspiracy theories from both the right and left rushed into a cloud of reality. And to cloud that reality, to deny it outright or to twist it into something politically useful. This kind of conspiracy theorizing was inevitable, what researchers call collective sense-making as we try to understand what we've just experienced. It's a process that happens in two parts, the assembling of evidence and the framing. These theories drew on hundreds of photos and videos captured by rally-goers, organizers, federal law enforcement, and news outlets. Users dissected the videos, marking them with red circles and arrows. In one video, a man adjusting his hat was labeled a conspirator signaling a hitman. In others, Kirk was said to have been shot not from above, but from behind, with the assassin identified alternately as a man tugging his sleeve or a fuzzy figure in white. Conspiracy theories live on a spectrum of possibility in politics. Some built around the Kirk assassination are far-flung ones, pushed by flat earthers, I knew it, and false flag obsessives. Others, more mainstream, have without strong evidence pointed blame to Israel. Farther right anti-Semitic activists, imaginary underground progressive terrorist organizations, and Donald Trump himself. Some were likely motivated by a belief, but others perhaps by a desire for internet attention, for entertainment, or for political purposes yet to be seen. How about for people who are tired of being lied to and tired of being overtaxed and tired of being led into false wars? How about that? That's why I do what I do. You know, my mindset is always, I nearly signed up for the military the summer of 2001 before 9/11 happened because a military recruiter told me there'd never be another war in my lifetime, and it was a great time to sign up. Actually, rewind, it would have been the summer of 2000 before I went into my senior year. They really recruited you back then between junior and senior year. And back then, I just went back to, I'm interested in it because of the money and the benefits, but my mom always told me, you go into the U.S. military, you're essentially an assassin to kill brown people for rich people that run this government. And I couldn't do that. And that the regret actually came back to, no. There'll probably never be another war in your lifetime. Imagine I had taken that advice. How many tours would I have done in the Middle East? How many innocent brown people would I have had to have killed? Especially with my mind where I didn't fall for what happened on 9/11 for 1 second. I said, no, that looked like a perfect demolition. This weirdo loser's the president, where it came down to the state where his brother was the governor. The last Republican president was his daddy. Nah, something weird's going on in this country. Hell no. Charlie Kirk's assassination was not just some kid. Former Trump advisor Steve Bannon, there's another Jesuit, told his War Room listeners Monday, inviting them to watch surveillance video of the alleged shooter descending a roof. Footage. Remember how, isn't it? I love how they always manufacture this stuff just like hours later. And by the way, that jump off the roof, pretty impressive. Like, who is this kid, man? I mean, it's good to be young and have young legs, but that's a nice jump off that roof. I mean, he just takes it in stride. That's not just some, average person jump off the roof like that. They're not going to, boom, hit it. I mean, is that video even real? How come it took so long to get that video? Anyway, footage that has been held up as evidence by some mega influencers that Kash Patel's FBI is hiding something. Everything with Kash Patel's been by the numbers. Kash Patel represents the people who've taken over big tech, doesn't he? And the people who are cyber scamming your phone and your text messages all day that used to work for the big companies that know the back doors. By the way, just a little update on my thing. Verizon gave me $1,500 credit for the year for the inconvenience. So I'll stay with Verizon for a little bit more after this. That still isn't anywhere near what has been lost, but I did appreciate the effort. Better than my bank. But yeah, for people who don't know, I recently experienced a major cyber attack on all of my financial accounts on the 33rd day of my age, and I hadn't been hacked like that since I was 33 years old, which was 9 years ago. But anyway, back to this. It seems like we're being spoon-fed a narrative, and this audience is not going to take it, and we're not going to allow the martyr Charlie Kirk to have a situation like a grassy knoll that decades and decades and decades later, we're still arguing about this. We've got to get to the bottom of it. It is fitting, maybe, that so many conspiracy theories have engulfed Kirk upon his death. In life, Kirk entertained conspiracy theories, trafficked in them, and benefited from their unchecked spread. Over the years on his podcast, Kirk leaned into conspiracy theories, including the Great Reset, a globalist plot to control the world, and the Great Replacement, a democratic plot to erase the white race. On his podcast, where he fashioned himself as a Christian Rush Limbaugh. Like Rush Limbaugh was Christian. If Jesus was into oxy and racism, yeah. Okay. Anyway, Kirk spread claims that Haitians in Springfield, Ohio were taking people's pets and eating them, that American men had been purposely feminized. Well, I'm pretty sure that one's actually true. We found some common ground. That the media was hiding something about the attack on Paul Pelosi. Well, that was obviously a total load of shit. And that President Joe Biden had intentionally ignored weather disasters so they could be used to promote policies that address climate change. Kirk pushed debunked theories that a nebulous group of government theys conspired to steal elections, set up peaceful patriots to attack the Capitol on January 6th, and force deadly vaccines on unwitting Americans. Remember, I lost my whole channel for exposing Transition Integrity Project at Georgetown, which simulated January 6th, June 12, 2020, and said Biden would win the election and Trump would refuse to step down, leading to deadly altercation between Americans. Just for reading about the Transition Integrity Project, lost the whole channel over hate speech. At the same time, Kirk surrounded himself with conspiracy theorists, a growing influence of power within the conservative establishment, including President Trump, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Candace Owens, and radio host Alex Jones, to name a few. Jones and Owens now count among the conspiracy creators focused on Kirk's death, who called the hit on Charlie, Owens posted on X the day after the shooting. Owens, his longtime friend and former employee, had spent the last several days publicly grieving while posting about some very powerful billionaires that she said Kirk was facing pressure from over his wavering support for Israel. In her online show Monday, she also suggested something nefarious about the FBI's handling of crime. If they had wanted to catch Charlie's killer, they would have immediately publicized all pictures and videos, and the internet would have solved it in minutes, Owens posted. The desire was never there. As is his custom, Jones immediately leapt on Kirk's death, but this time he didn't theorize. Remember, they had to do the ritual, the 2 arrests, then finally the 3rd guy to pay tribute to the Masonic ritual, the 3 ruffians, which equals 249, like the country's 249 years old, and the shooting happened 249 days after the state of Utah's birthday. The 3rd ruffian kills Hiram Abiff, the builder of Solomon's temple, with a wound to the neck. Again, it's all ritual, you guys. Nothing flimsy about it. He didn't theorize, as he had with children murdered in their elementary school, that Kirk's death was a production of the government to rip away gun rights. This is about Alex Jones. Instead, he claimed this was an execution overseen and commanded by a trans death cult. Oh, man. I remember when Alex Jones was very against the political system. The suspect was in a romantic relationship with a roommate who is transgender and who is cooperating with authorities, Governor Cox said last week. Officials have not yet suggested that Robinson was motivated by trans issues. By the way, for all the really conservative parents out there, again, a lot of the people that do become trans, it's because they came from too conservative, too controlling of a household, too limited of a household. And these are people that just rebel too far. And the next thing you know, they have no more wiener or vice versa. Just a little warning to all of you people that are just way too religious. The Soros strike force has been activated, Jones posted Monday, referring to the liberal billionaire donor. You guys should look up the New York Post headline of Back to the Future, the endorsement of Trump by the numbers. The framing of Kirk's death as staged or part of a larger plot may not hold, but a more insidious narrative, one less easily debunked or written over with facts learned during a criminal case against Robinson, is already being amplified by the Trump administration. Fueled by raw emotion and few facts, this frame is shaping into something likely to be more durable and destructive. You know, since this is about knocking people who did conspiracy, my presentation was really well researched, based on a lot of documented facts on facts on facts. I haven't heard any facts really in this article. Just saying, oh, it's indisputable. According to who? And then they're talking about all the typical chosen ones. The only one they didn't bring up was Mark Dice, another chosen tool. He can get on here and be a race baiter all day and gets to stay up and have millions of views. Anyway, on a special episode of the Charlie Kirk podcast, broadcast Monday from a wood-paneled office in the White House complex, the administration's most senior officials joined guest host Vice President J.D. Vance to eulogize Kirk. Flanked by American and vice presidential flags, Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy Stephen Miller sipped tea and pointed to a shadowy alliance of progressive organizations, funders, and activists who he claimed are ultimately responsible for Kirk's killing. He cited this narrative as justification to unleash the power of the federal government upon its contrived threats so that, as Vance said, something like Kirk's assassination would never happen again. With God as my witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again, Miller said, defining the unnamed network as the organized doxing campaigns, the organized riots, the organized street violence, the organized campaigns of dehumanization, vilification, posting people's addresses, combining that with messaging designed to trigger, incite violence, and the actual organized cells that carry out and facilitate the violence. This narrative is the ultimate conspiracy theory. That its enemy is so fundamentally undefined is, over here, I really define the enemy, if you will. Again, and I didn't see them really attacking my work anywhere in this article. I just get censored and deleted and ignored. The characters in this story are so broad that it can be weaponized against any and every perceived political enemy. It already has been. That's too bad. If they were talking about my work, it would be a lot different. The day after Kirk was shot, anonymous self-described political operatives registered a website, charliesmurderers.com. Well, Trump should be right up there front and center because it really is all about him. You can add King Charles to the list, Charlie Sheen, Joe Rogan, who's ever behind the Star Trek announcement. Just to start, definitely the Superior General. Which crowdsourced screenshots and identifying details to accuse people of celebrating his murder. People featured on the site whose remarks were often misrepresented have reported receiving death threats and being fired from their jobs. The anonymous organizers who solicit donations claim to have more than 60,000 submissions. Did you guys see the announcement? yesterday that Turning Point USA has 54,000 applications for new chapters. 54,000. The anonymous organizers who solicited donations claim to have more than 60,000 submissions and plan to publish soon. Meanwhile, cabinet secretaries and the heads of federal departments have been tasked with identifying organizations they claim fund and incite left-wing violence. You know, the one thing about the Republicans, and they are a lot better about their messaging and their BS than the left is. Just all of this stuff in America is the left, and the left's only violence. Like, almost all these mass shooters are former police and military, and former police and military aren't known for being left-wing. Not to mention, most of them on the left don't even own guns. Anyway, but they'll scream it out loud like it's the absolute truth. Right away, they knew it was some liberal. Oh, it turns out it's a kid who's from a Mormon family. And again, Mormons and liberals, we're talking about almost no. Almost no all the way. Organizations they claim fund and incite left-wing violence, according to New York Times, Attorney General Pam Bondi claimed Monday, without evidence, that left-wing radicals killed Kirk and that they would be held to account. It's a tactic, Kirk. Well, you know, you do. Don't forget, Trump used to be a left-winger. You know, he was a longtime Democrat, just like Ronald Reagan, who also ran Omega, who's also a Hollywood actor, who was the 33rd governor of California, was Ronald Reagan. It's a tactic Kirk would have approved of. It was Kirk who built the Professor Watch List. Keep in mind, Turning Point was founded on Ronald Reagan's death anniversary, who also supposedly got shot. Kirk, who built the Professor Watch List, intended to expose alleged leftist bias, but which ultimately led to doxing and death threats for hundreds of academics. It was Kirk who argued that the only way to heal the country's political divisions was for conservatives to win. Kirk was the kind of strategist who understood when to lean into a grand conspiracy theory for the greater mega good. And for some reason, he was able to be amplified on social media, where almost everybody else who talks about those things gets deleted and shadow banned, and people can't see what's what. Kirk helped cultivate a modern conservative worldview that declared itself at war with the left. And again, Platoon, King Charles, Civil War, ritualism, it's so obvious. In death, he has become the main character in its central conspiracy theory. Okay. Wow, you guys got generous. Shout out to Modoc Roughstock, who became a UW a member and who chipped in a big $10. Always spot on. I appreciate that, man. Leopard Messiah is back with the big 5. Thank you, Leopard Messiah. He said, appreciate your work so much, Zach. My coworkers think you and me are crazy. Hey, all dumb people think the truth is crazy. It's just a fact. And there's a lot of dumb ones in this country. Dumber and dumber by the day. Open up. Again, thank you. Frederick Charles Freeman is projected to play his 138th game tonight as Trump and Charles meet. Donald Trump equals 138 like federal. Love it. Quentin Johnson. Hey, man, I saw you scoring touchdowns on Monday Night Football. Thank you for the 20. I'm joking, but your name's similar to the star receiver for the Chargers there, who made home teams 4-4 for the week when Lightning equals 44. Like the other week, we had the Lightning delay with 44 points on the board, keeping Dak on 213 career touchdowns, the LA area code. The next night, LA wins in primetime. Shout out to Big Dale with the big 5. Shout out to Oscar Garcia. Thank you again so much, Dale. And Oscar, again, I see all the usual suspects up here. I appreciate you guys. Open up with another 5. Said a 12-foot golden statue of President Trump holding a Bitcoin has been temporarily installed outside the U.S. Capitol. You guys, you see how cryptocurrency equals 78? When Trump took office at 78, it went ballistic, and we've had so many amazing calls with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's completely Jesuit controlled. Remember, Bitcoin eclipsed 117K for the first time on the 11th of July, 117. It's right here. The CIA is totally Jesuit. Anyway, it's a lot to explain. Go back and watch my video on Bitcoin hitting 117 on 11/7. We saw that one coming. A lot of great calls on Bitcoin over the years because it's all rigged, people. You learn this knowledge. The market's rigged. The crypto's rigged. The sports game's rigged. The election's rigged. The news is rigged. And this Kabbalistic code, it gives you the laser vision like your Roddy Piper, and they live to see through it all. 12 foot. 12 foot. That's 144 inches, isn't it? 12 foot, 144 inches. Is that where they're going with that one? Jesuit order. Trump elected 144 days after his birthday. Last time Biden won the election 144 days after Georgetown simulated he'd win it. RFK dead at 1:44 a.m. JFK dead 144 days from meeting the Pope on 7/2. RFK Jr. in the race on the 5th day of the 4th month, 144 days after the Superior General's birthday. RFK Jr. 72. Don't get me started. Year of the snake. RFK Jr. says he loves snakes. They did his hearing. It started on the year of the snake for RFK Jr. And they're asking, now, are you against the 72 jabs for the little kids? Are you against the 72 jabs? Why are you against the 72 jabs? Our doctors say the 72 jabs are very necessary. And you're putting conspiracy theories out there. Now people have measles. Yeah. Learn gematria and then tell me who's running the show, you guys. I know who's running the show. Who's the father of the jab? Isn't that guy? Isn't it this guy right here? President Trump, 72? The father of the jab. Did it on Mercuralia. He became the father of jab on Mercuralia, the day to celebrate Mercury, 2 years to the day of the Clade X simulation. Clade X, 666 days before the scam was declared. Okay. Thank you, Abra, for being a member for 18 months. Awesome. Thank you so much. And Victor Booth of the Big Ten. You guys have been generous, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. I got to go get Sweet Girl. I'm late again. I'm bad. Hey, if you guys are new here, make sure you stay subscribed. I see a lot of people leaving the comment. I subscribed. I'm already unsubscribed. I had to find her channel again. That's what YouTube does. They got to keep me small. If you guys got here late, please rewind and watch just the first few minutes of the video. I think I said everything you really needed to hear in the first 3 minutes. The first 3 minutes are probably the most important part of the video. Thanks to everyone who hits a like, leaves a comment, hits the like, gives it a share, who teaches the knowledge to somebody else. Each one teach one. I got to get my little daughter. You guys have a good rest of your day. And until next time.